Hello and welcome to the News9 Plus Show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. India votes on the 7th of May in the third phase of the Lok Sabha elections. 92 seats across 11 states and union territories are at stake in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Karnataka. And joining me to discuss this, the 5 big questions from this third phase of the elections are Nikhil Jain, Banuchandar Nagarajan, and my colleagues Ajith Vijay, Kumar and Kiran Tare. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus Show. We are asking the 5 big questions. And question number 1, okay, it's like a quiz, Ajith. Can the BJP retain seats in Karnataka after the Gowda scandal? I want to start by asking you, Ajith, what's your take on this? What impact is this likely to have? The sex tape allegations against one of the key members of the Gowda family. What impact would it have on the BJP's 14 seats?
I think the BJP's prospects in these 14 seats are not directly linked to what happened in terms of the Gowda scandal.
Right. Could there be a fallout, a spillover
effect? More importantly, I think it will be dependent on how the Lingayats, Mats,
right.
how do they decide on whether to back BJP this time, because they clearly were with the Congress
right.
During the assembly elections. I think that will be more of an important case and issue there,
right.
because in the north, if we were to talk of the Gowda issue, then
yes.
we'll also have to talk about the Neha
Hiremat case. Absolutely.
Correct.
Yes.
So in terms of a pure play Lingayat issue,
right.
Neha would be more important, and Gowda case, they can always pass it on as something that has happened with one of their allies.
Right.
So I think BJP has a fair chance to kind of retain those 14 seats,
right.
depending on whether the Mats this time at least come back to the BJP fold and support them.
Right. Okay. So the Lingayat Mats are going to be really important, as
correct.
Ajith mentioned. Nikhil, what's your take on this? How would the BJP fight this? How critical are the seats that are going into the polls tomorrow? We are aware of the fact that the BJP controls all 14 seats right now. It's very critical for them. But this impact of the Prajwal Revana scandal, could there be an impact on the BJP's electoral prospects in North Karnataka?
Obviously, I think there is going to be a strong impact of this scandal, and the simple reason for that is that the allegations are very scathing. It is not something made by a politician on a stage with a bunch of
right.
papers in his hands. It
right.
is something where you have 2,900 videos. A lot of them are unfortunately available in the public domain, where the accused, the grandson of H.D. Devegowda, can be seen sexually assaulting these women. It's not just somebody's sex tape leaking. It is sexual
right.
assault and rape videotaped by a person of over 2,800 women over the course of many, many years. And what becomes problematic for the BJP, I think, is the fact that there has been no strong condemnation by the BJP against such
right.
an incident. Any other party would have perhaps severed its ties with the JDS. I understand that the BJP is looking for the Vokaliga vote from the JDS and their
yes.
strength in the old Mysuru region, but that is not that I think it overall dents the BJP's credibility as a party that likes to position itself as something as a force against crime against women. And
right.
I feel the impact of this will extend beyond Karnataka into the national fray as well.
Right. Banuchandar, your take on this. Will the BJP be able to insulate its seats, its 14 seats that are going to the polls tomorrow, from the Prajwal Revana scandal?
The parts of Karnataka that is going to polls, which is coastal Karnataka and what is called as Bombay Karnataka and Hyderabad Karnataka, they have
right.
different political dynamics.
Right.
Coastal Karnataka has always been BJP's bastion. And they usually win from there. In Bombay, Karnataka, which is
yes.
Bijapur, Belgaum and all that, will have, what the previous speaker was saying, impact of Neha Hiremat issue will be the one that is going to
right.
hold people's attention. But the question is, how will Hyderabad, Karnataka vote? That is
right.
where I think the game is. That's where the Congress president Mallikarjun Kharge comes from in Kalaburgi. So we have to see how things play out there. But in Prajwal Revana's case, I think will not have much impact on that. In fact, Revana has been arrested, so people are sure.
Right.
I mean, the government has shown some initiative in tackling those.
Right, absolutely. So panelists here seem to agree on the fact that the Prajwal Revana scandal, as egregious as it is, it might not have the kind of impact on the 14 seats that are going into the elections tomorrow. But moving on to question number 2, a little north to Maharashtra. Who will win the battle for the real NCP? And I want to bring in my colleague Kiran Tare, who's been traveling through Maharashtra, covering this election, and most importantly, he's been to Baramati very recently. He's spoken to the two key contenders in this Pawar versus Pawar battle. Kiran, fill us in on what the situation on the ground is right now. Which of the Pawar factions is stronger, is likely to emerge out of this? Will it be the Ajith Pawar faction? Will it be the Sharad Pawar faction? It's Pawar versus Pawar in Baramati. What's at stake for the most important political family in Maharashtra?
Yes, of course, it is the Pawar versus Pawar battle, but I will call it as a mother of all battles, because it is not only about the legacy of NCP, but
Right.
it depends upon the political fortunes of Supriya Sule and Sharad Pawar as well.
Yes.
And very interestingly, this fight is very close. It's very tight fight, and everybody is guessing what's happening in Baramati on the
Right.
ground. But my information is that it's going to be in the last phase from today and tomorrow onwards. Tomorrow
Yes.
is the voting. It will be going on an emotional vote.
Right.
Because Sharad Pawar has fallen sick. And
Yes.
his supporters have started spreading information that Pawar needs you at this critical juncture. Pawar
Right.
needs you. His vote needs you.
Yes.
So this kind of emotional appeal is going to be there.
Right.
On the other hand, Ajith Pawar has been aggressively campaigning against Sharad Pawar's monopoly in the region.
Yes. Right.
Ajith Pawar has been controlling all the district banks, cooperative societies,
Yes.
all the small societies, and particularly the Jila Parishad, Panchayat Samiti. Everything is controlled by Ajith Pawar there.
Right.
Ajith Pawar is trying to send out a message that it is me who always helped Supriya Sule to win this election.
Yes.
So Supriya Sule's election is not because of her merit, but it was
Right.
because of the ground network of Ajith Pawar
Yes.
and his supporters. So this fight is going to be very interesting, and I'm getting very good feelers that the voting percentage in Baramati will be higher
Right.
this time. Sharad Pawar himself has switched from Mumbai to Baramati as a voter.
Right.
He used to vote in Mumbai, but
Very
now
interesting fact,
he will
yes.
vote in Baramati this time
Right.
to support his daughter.
Right.
And very interestingly again, Sharad Pawar's wife, Pratibha Pawar, who was never in the public domain,
Yes.
she was not in a public life, but Pratibha Pawar and Supriya Sule's daughter, Revati, they are also going door to door campaigning for Supriya Sule. This is happening for the first time, so we can gauge the mood of
Yes,
the
the
voters
intensity
and
of this
gauge
fight, Ajit,
how
and as Kiran mentioned, that the Pawars are going all out. Both sides of the family, both Ajit Pawar and Sharad Pawar seem to be, pushing all their family members into this. It's a fight that we've never seen before, and as Kiran mentioned, it's very close to what he said. The mother of all battles is being fought in Maharashtra. Nikhil, what's your take on this? The mother of all battles, as Kiran Tare put it, Pawar versus Pawar, Ajit Pawar versus Sharad Pawar, the proxy war that's being fought by their daughter and wife in Baramati. It's possibly the closest, most closely watched contest in the third phase tomorrow.
Sandeep, so personally, I feel that for any political party in an election, there are two things: the political workers and the voters. Like,
Right.
what do the voters feel, and how effective are the political workers of that party are in mobilizing those voters? Secondly, when you talk about political workers and political leaders on the ground, I think there are two types of people. One are those who are the opportunists who would
Yes.
like to stay in power all the time, regardless of the party, and two are
Right.
the people who are genuinely committed to the leadership or to the ideology of the
Right.
party. I feel what has recently happened with this NCP split is that a lot of those opportunists have now
Yes.
banked together with Ajith Pawar since he's the one in power, but those
Right.
who were strongly ideologically committed or to the leadership of
Right.
Sharad Pawar
Right.
remain staunch in the Sharad Pawar faction. So I feel so far as the political maneuvering using the electoral machinery is concerned,
Yes.
the Ajith Pawar faction would have the edge, but the voters, the support
Right.
that they have, that is primarily in the name of Sharad Pawar. That is the
Yes.
reason that in the beginning, even Ajith Pawar's rallies were using the face of Sharad Pawar despite splitting from.
That's right.
So I feel it is a
Yes.
battle between whether the voters' inherent support for Sharad Pawar is greater
Right.
or the political, mobilization of the Ajith Pawar faction is greater. Personally, I think it's going to be a win for the Sharad Pawar faction.
A win for the Sharad Pawar faction. Banuchandar, it's as Kiran was mentioning, there's a lot of emotion in this, and the fact that Sharad Pawar has very quietly distanced himself from the public eye. You remember the last election, that there was that visual of him standing in the rain and speaking to the people. I mean, that was, I think, one of the most defining moments of that election. Is Sharad Pawar, man who was at that moment close to 80. He's been through severe health issues, refusing to throw in the towel, and this seems to be the case in 2024 as well. Which side do you think is going to prevail? as Nikhil said, there's one side which has the loyalists and the other side are the so-called opportunists.
What is at play is the support, how the supporters of the split NDA, the split NCP and the split Shiv Sena vote. Okay, so that, I mean, this is going to be the acid test. In terms of Marathwada, where he falls, it is going to be the Pawar versus Pawar. And in Konkan, which is usually a Sena bastion, the Konkani immigrants usually go to Bombay, and you know the Shiv Sena has cultivated them and so on. So how they are split between the NDA and the NDA is something that we need to see. Also, Kolhapur is also there, where the Maharaja has thrown in his hat for the India Alliance. So there are like all these big names in play there. But I think Maharashtra might swing towards the BJP for this election, but the assembly election following this might be.
Yeah. So, question number 3 now. In Gujarat, can the Congress-AAP alliance prevent a third clean sweep? The BJP has been, the BJP has held Gujarat for decades now. It's in the last 2 elections, it's been a clean sweep of all the Lok Sabha seats. Can the opposition Congress-AAP alliance prevent a third clean sweep? Nikhil, your take on this. How will the Congress and the AAP fight these elections, given the fact that this is Prime Minister Modi's home turf? Home Minister Amit Shah is a candidate in tomorrow's elections. How will the opposition handle this juggernaut of the BJP in Gujarat?
So Sandeep, on Gujarat, I have a very conflicted view. If you look at the numbers and stats, I don't think the opposition alliance or any party has any chance in front of the BJP. Just the vote shares are very telling. The BJP gets 47% in 2009, 59% in 2014 and 62% in 2019.
Right.
No matter what alliance you have, Aam Aadmi Party, Congress, I don't think anybody can take any single seat from the BJP in a scenario like this.
Right.
But where I conflict myself and where I'm a little confused and perturbed about how these elections are going is what the BJP is trying to do in Surat and in Ahmedabad.
Right.
Like, I don't understand what was the need for them to have, play this game wherein the Congress party's candidates, the nomination had to be rejected, then the dummy candidate rejected, then everybody pulling out of the race, including the BSP candidate. And then now in Ahmedabad, we are hearing stories of the Hindu independent candidates being pressurized by the police to withdraw their names. I honestly, I really don't understand why does the BJP have to pull these muscle tactics. But that being said, I don't think the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party alliance can get more than a seat or 2 out of the 26. But Gujarat is a very strong dominant hold of the BJP.
Gujarat is a very strong bastion of the BJP, of course, and the BJP is already, Ajith, won 1 seat out of the 26, so it's actually a battle for 25 seats. Banuchandar, your take on this. How will the BJP improve upon its performance? 60 plus, election vote share. How will it plan to improve on this?
It's 25-0, Sandeep. We need not even talk about Gujarat. But the 2 things that we need to watch for is, one is like for the larger national strategy of the BJP, usually Gujarat is the testing ground, how they have treated the opposition, how they have decimated the opposition, will come into play in the third term. The second point is, after Purushottam Rupala made the comment about the Kshatriyas, we do not know how the Kshatriyas will vote for the BJP. Is there something on that? Is something that we need to watch, but it is 25-0, nothing to talk about.
Right, 25-0, nothing to talk about. Ajith, now we come to Madhya Pradesh. Interesting battle over there. Some heavyweight candidates, Raja, Maharaja and Mama. What's your take on this? Raja being Digvijay Singh of the Congress, Maharaja being Jyotiraditya Scindia, and of course Mama, former Chief Minister Shivraj Chauhan. What's your take on this? How important is tomorrow's election going to be for the 3 candidates?
So, if you were to purely go by the assembly election results, I think it's a clean sweep for the BJP there.
Right.
But given the fact that there's this groundswell of support, possibly for Jyotiraditya Scindia in Guna is something that needs to be looked at in greater detail. Right. Because he has held the seat for long, but then always
he lost in 2019.
Correct. So he the first time that he lost was in 2019. Right. And now he has moved to the BJP. But as we were discussing the case in Karnataka and in Maharashtra, right? So whether the voters are with the with the leader or with the ideology is the question there again.
Right, right. Are the leaders with are the voters with the leaders or the ideologies? An interesting question there. Nikhil, your take? Raja, Maharaja, Mama, who will win?
One thing where I would like to disagree with the previous panelist is that the state elections that happened and the Lok Sabha elections this time around are very different. To call a spade a spade, the lackadaisical campaign that the Congress ran in the state elections in Madhya Pradesh is perhaps the reason why the BJP managed to get such a stronghold over the Congress. The BJP's vote share was about 48.6% and the Congress was about 40.5%.
Right.
However, this time around, the difference is that there is no lack of campaigning from the Congress party or India Alliance at the national level or in Madhya Pradesh. There have been strong rallies, there has been a strong narrative, and you don't see a leader missing in action as a lot of people felt was the case during the state elections when Kamal Nath wasn't even doing half as many rallies as Shivraj Singh Chauhan was doing. Coming to the specific question on who can retain their strongholds, I think that's a very interesting battle to look at because Digvijay Singh, even though the very tall leader he was, I'm not quite sure how much ground support he holds. He's after all contesting this in this constituency after 3 decades. Jyotiraditya Scindia, I think, would have a very strong edge. He's managed to prove his mettle as somebody who is a very strong mass leader in that region. And Mamaji, I think he is going to definitely benefit from the sympathy, although there'd always be that conflict between the BJP voters also that at one place Mamaji has been sidelined by the BJP and in the other place they have to vote for Mamaji. So क्या वो Mamaji को हराने के लिए BJP को वोट करेंगे, Mamaji को जिताने के लिए BJP को वोट करेंगे? It's a little bit difficult to understand the situation there.
Banuchandar, your take on this? Raja, Maharaja, Mama. Who are you placing your bets on?
In this, it's going to be 9-on-9 for BJP. If at all the opposition had any chance of winning a seat in Madhya Pradesh, it was going to be Chhindwara. This is not going to polls now.
It's not going to
and the BJP heavyweight seats, Bhopal, Vidisha, all of this is going to poll. So it's 9-on-9 for BJP.
9-on-9 for the BJP. And finally, we come to Goa. The big question there. Goa has only 2 Lok Sabha seats, but there's a very interesting battle on in Goa. It's the richest candidate in the Lok Sabha, Pallavi Dempo, Ajith, 1400 crore assets worth 1400 crore she's declared worth versus a former army officer, Kiran Tare, to tell us about this very interesting battle that's playing out in South Goa. Kiran, tell us who's ahead in this race. It's BJP versus Congress with a twist.
It's a very interesting battle, Sandeep. I mean, Pallavi Dempo has announced her properties at 1400 crores. Not only 400 crores. So 1400 crores is a very big amount, and he was a merchant navy chief. He's a captain, but not directly linked to the defense forces. But here, the battle is very interesting because 24% are the Catholic voters. The Catholics have been the traditional Congress supporters. In this case, if the BJP has fielded Pallavi Dempo with a calculation that she is a woman, good speaking, good English speaking, good Konkani connect, big industry houses. They are the mining barons, and they are the people who are running mining, shipping, media, everything is there. And their thousands of employees are her voters. This is very interesting battle. So are the employees are going to vote for her employer or they are going to vote for the Congress? That will be very interesting to watch. But here, the BJP is on a very sticky wicket because in a Hindu-dominated areas like Padgaon or Fonda, some parts of the other constituencies as well, because the part between Madhya and Fonda, they are Hindu-dominated, but the other parts which are close to the coast, they are Christian-dominated. So between Hindus and the Christian, the fight, if the Hindu votes are divided, then Congress will have a clear edge. But if all the Christian votes are kept united and the Hindu votes are consolidated in favor of Pallavi Dempo, then the result will be.
Right, absolutely. Kiran, so thanks very much for that update there. I'd like to thank my co-panelists Nikhil Jain, Banuchandar, Ajith Vijay Kumar, my colleague Kiran Tare, for giving us the roundup on tomorrow's elections. Bear well in mind that tomorrow is going to see the maximum number of heavyweights in the fray. As Kiran Tare just put it for us, it's going to be the mother of all battles, not just Baramati, across India. That's the story that we'll be tracking tomorrow as well. Former Punjab Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Channi called the Poonch terror attack, in which 1 IAF personnel was killed and 4 injured, a political stunt. The opposition said the same thing in 2019 after the Balakot strikes carried out as a retaliation for the Pulwama attack. 46 CRPF personnel were killed in that attack. Yesterday, Congress leader Vijay Wadettiwar said that Mumbai ATS chief Hemant Karkare was killed by an RSS-linked policeman and not by elite terrorist Ajmal Kasab. So why do politicians seek political gains ahead of national elections? Joining me to discuss this are my colleagues Kiran Tare, Ashok Bagria and senior journalist Jain Mainkar. Ashok, any surprises here? If there's a controversy, you have a politician jump into it, even if it's something that concerns national security?
Well, it's not really surprising because this has been the trend since 2019.
Right.
And at the moment, it looks like that the field is open for all.
Yes.
And the worst part about bringing a national security narrative,
yes,
when you're talking about politics, is you do disservice not only to the nation,
yes,
but also to the sacrifice of
right,
the person who died while guarding the borders of
yes,
this country. Now, Charanjit Singh Channi, former Punjab Chief Minister,
yeah,
calling this attack, the Punch attack, a political stunt.
Right.
Now, if somebody were to ask Channi, what evidence does he have to suggest that this is a political stunt?
Right.
He will have nowhere to go. He'll say
right,
that this is a political statement that I'm making.
Yes.
But what is important is to hear is that when you make such political statements,
right,
it cuts very deep.
Right.
You might make a political gain here and there.
Yes.
But you are compromising on national security.
Yes.
And also undermining the sacrifice of the brave soldiers.
Absolutely.
Of this
Very
country.
important points there. And Jayant, I want to bring you in on this point that Ashok raised, the fact that, every time a politician raises these questions on national security, you're undermining the sacrifice of our soldiers who risked their lives and limbs to do what they did in the last few years, whether it's Balakot or whether it's fighting terror along the borders. Why do politicians not have a unified stance when it comes to national security? Why is everything up for discussion and debate and, including matters of national security?
No, I don't think so. That is possible because even for politicians, their survival in politics is more important, unfortunately.
Right.
Ahead of national interest, if I want to say,
yes,
unfortunately, it's a fact,
right,
and we need to accept that.
Right.
They are more interested in. Punjab is a border state,
yes,
so obviously always it faced a border conflict.
Right.
But it's former chief minister if he's saying like this. And the second problem,
yes,
which particularly I am facing as far as the BJP government has come at the center.
right,
None of them, particularly when there are allegations against the prime minister or whatever,
right,
prime minister is not ready to come out with clarification while talking to reporters.
right,
Like there are various allegations about Pathankot and all that,
yes,
wherever in 2019 that it took place. Except that whatever the government clarified, any other thing, nothing, no clarification has been made about that, and the allegations are still continuing.
yeah, allegations
As the
still
same
continuing.
case-
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
And the same case is about Mr. Mushrif,
Yes.
the Hassan Mushrif's
Right.
brother. Hassan Mushrif
Yes.
was former Sharad Pawar AD. Then he went with Ajith Pawar, and now he is a
Right.
minister.
Right.
Now this Mushrif's elder brother, of
Yeah.
course, IPS officer.
Yes.
In his book, he
Yes.
wrote all these things. And what Mr. Vijay
Yeah.
Wadettiwar, leader of the opposition in Maharashtra Legislative
Yes.
Assembly, can easily summarize or defend himself. No. I just mentioned whatever that Mr. Mushrif,
Yes.
the IPS officer, has said, and that's all. He can clarify that. I have not gone beyond that. And these theories are in vogue. Since 2008, I have covered it. I know it.
Absolutely.
These
Yeah,
theories are
these conspiracy theories are afloat since 2008. And Kiran, you've been covering terrorism in Mumbai from 2008 onwards. Why is it that there are all these conspiracy theories that are still being floated? And we are aware of the fact that the Pakistan army went to extraordinary lengths to hide its involvement in these attacks, and they even created this parallel Hindu terror conspiracy that was being bandied about a few years back. Right down to the fact that the terrorists who attacked Mumbai were carrying identity cards with Hindu names, and the fact that they were wearing red threads and all of that. Despite, and then you have Mr. Mushrif coming out saying that there are all these RSS-linked officers. Why is it still in the news after 15 years? Why have these speculations not laid to rest?
This is a very valid question, but I must tell the viewers that when Mr. Karkare was there, he had reached at the CST station. I was the first and the only journalist who had talked to him at that time.
Yes.
And after a short while, he was shot dead. So I had talked to Mr. Karkare on a very close range of topics on that particular night, and he had clearly told me that it was a terror attack and you should keep away from the CST station because your life is in danger. So the point here is that Mr. Karkare knew what he was doing. And unfortunately, the politicians, they don't know the sacrifice, how important the sacrifice of these brave martyrs are. When Mr. Madetiwar is saying that some RSS linked police officer, and he had named that police officer that he killed Mr. Karkare, but the same officer was posted at Marine Drive and he was involved in the team, he was included in the team which captured Ajmal Kasab alive. So Madetiwar should have confirmed, he should have verified what he's talking about. Even though he's referring to S.A. Mushraf's book, he is a responsible person, as a responsible politician, leader of the opposition in the Maharashtra Assembly, and he is expected to behave responsibly. Earlier, Maharashtra politicians used to be very studious, but now they are not using their brains. They are absolutely depending upon the WhatsApp messages. This kind of particular message was in circulation since Ujjwal Nikam's candidature has been announced. So my point here is that Madetiwar, whether it's Madetiwar or whether it's Channi, their target is the opponents. They are trying to gain some political points.
Political brownie points. Absolutely. Yes. And journalists have raised this issue a couple of times, at least since 2008, 26/11. Kiran, as he just mentioned, said there's absolutely no doubt in his mind that Mr. Hemant Karkare, who died fighting terrorists on that night of 26/11, told him very clearly that it was a terror attack and he was going in. There's that visual of him, Kiran, I remember wearing that bulletproof vest and the helmet and going into battle, and he laid down his life. It's very unfortunate what happened, but what is equally unfortunate is the fact that the kind of political brownie points are being scored on those terror attacks of 26/11 or Pathankot. There seems to be very little unity when it comes to fighting terror, and that's possibly one of the reasons why terrorists have had a field run over the last couple of decades, because Indian politicians leave no stone unturned, Ashok, when it comes to scoring political brownie points, and that's the politics of terror at the most unfortunate and the lowest, the nadir of Indian political discourse that we've reached in this election. The 26/11 plot was to blame Indians for one of the most devastating terror strikes on Indian soil. Not just to blame them, but to give it a communal angle. The terrorists came wearing red threads on their wrists and carrying identity cards with Hindu names on. Pakistan almost got away with this, almost. But then Kasab was caught alive. Watch our story, The Hindu Terrorists, the Pakistan Army's 26/11 deception plan, only on the News9 Plus app.
Mumbai attacks were carried out by 10 seaborne terrorists in 2008.
The 10 terrorists were to sink their hijacked fishing trawler, the Kuber, with the GPS set inside. This was to destroy all evidence of their journey from Karachi.
And one of the details they had planned was to use these dhagas and with the fake identity cards to mislead the investigative agencies.
All this was to be presented as a Hindu terror.
But capture of one of the terrorists unraveled Pakistan's deception.
You know, India is testing its missiles when Chinese spy ships appear in the Indian Ocean. Now, yesterday, China's spy missile tracking ship, the Yuanwang 6, returned to the Indian Ocean region to snoop on what we assume are going to be Indian missile tests. And the last 6 years, China has sent 24 spying expeditions into the Indian Ocean. That's nearly as much as the remaining 6 countries, including India, which have sent only 26 expeditions into the Indian Ocean region. Now, China is shaping the maritime battle space in the IOR, as we call it. And I'm joined today on the show by Commander Arnab Das, Founder Director of the Maritime Research Centre. He's one of India's foremost advocates for underwater domain awareness. My colleague Nivriti Mohan, who's been tracking Chinese spy ships which are tracking our missile tests. Commander Das, welcome to the News9 Plus Show.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Nivriti, I want to start by asking you, because you've put this documentary together, why the Indian Ocean region? Why are the Chinese so interested in the IOR? Tell our viewers.
Okay, as far as oceans are concerned, we often say that 80% of our oceans are not explored, and there is a saying that even Mars and Moon, surfaces of Mars and Moon are more explored than ocean surface or ocean seabed.
Right.
Coming to Indian Ocean region, it is very, very important for us, for India, because it is India's backyard, and any conflict or any uncertainty in this region affects India directly. And as far as China is concerned, China is dependent, Indian Ocean region is the trade route for Chinese.
Yes.
And 50% or more of the hydrocarbon transits through this region, and China is heavily dependent on Indian Ocean region for their
its
energy supplies as well.
That's the most important part when it comes to China. But you know, as for what they're doing there, I'm going to ask Commander Das this. Commander Das, you've been part of the documentary that Nivriti put together. The fact that the Chinese seem to be snooping on all three dimensions of the Indian Ocean, whether it's the seabed, the water, the surface of the sea, and the atmosphere when they are tracking our missile tests. Give us a breakdown of the entire Chinese expeditions over the last 6 years, which have intensified.
It's a very important question, and it's a very important dimension. See, if you look at today, Indo-Pacific strategic space is being talked about as the most critical area of engagement, right? I mean, there was a time when the Pacific and the Atlantic was important, but today, in the 21st century, it's the Indo-Pacific.
Yes.
But in the Indo-Pacific also, the Indo part of the Indo-Pacific becomes far more important, because India and China will interact here. There have been a lot of effort to understand the Pacific part of the Indo-Pacific.
Yes.
And there have been experiments like the Asia X that happened at the beginning of this century. There's a lot of data that is available there, or that has been generated at a certain point. But Indian Ocean or the Indo part of the Indo-Pacific is far less known.
Right.
So now there is an aggressive push by the Chinese to understand the Indian Ocean much better.
Right.
So on all the three dimensions, as you mentioned, they are trying to gather more information, and they're trying to understand this region better. Now, even for whether it is for military or even for the deep ocean mission or the blue economy, if they have to deploy, I mean, I would like to say that 90% of the resources and the challenges exist below the surface of the water.
Right, absolutely.
So, having said that, now you need to deploy your platforms, whether it is an AUV or whatever you need to deploy there.
Right.
That requires a very different kind of underwater domain awareness. Right. I mean, I would like to also mention that USS Connecticut met with an accident in the South China Sea.
Yes.
See, latest submarine, or such a state-of-the-art submarine of the US Navy meets with such an embarrassment for but it also brings out the lack of UDA in this part of the world.
No, absolutely. Very important point there, Commander Das. The fact that, underwater domain awareness is so critical to submarine operations, and the fact that the USS Connecticut hit an underwater object which it wasn't aware of. So obviously they hadn't mapped that part of the South China Sea. But, Commander Das, the Chinese say that they're there for scientific purposes. Many of their vessels are not pure scientific, they're not spy ships per se, but they seem to be for oceanographic data, they're hydrographic ships and all. But this trust deficit that not just India, but the world has with China, how is that trust deficit fueling our suspicion of the kind of activities that they are engaged in the IOR? Break this point down for us.
Now, see, any underwater data or any data, it's a strategitic asset for any nation.
Right.
I mean, West has done it in the past. They have mapped the areas of interest, and once that data comes in, like let us say Indian Ocean, like you mentioned about 24 expeditions by China.
Yes.
Now they were doing this underwater expeditions to map the the undersea to be able to deploy AUVs and any such platforms.
Right.
Now, once that data is available to you, whether you are carrying out a mission for security or for blue economy, that is your national.
Absolutely.
But that data is the start point, right?
Right, absolutely. The data is the start point, it's agnostic. Yes.
Yes. So that data is very important. And that's why if you see the UDA framework that we have built, you know, the pooling of resources and synergize of effort is so much important.
Right.
And particularly when you talk about the global south, you know, when there is always a resource crunch and, you know, the political has to balance between socio-economic budget and the military budget, you know, this will become a very, very important question. But once this data is collected and if it has got a lot of relevance for the blue economy, it makes a lot more political sense.
Right, absolutely.
So you cannot fault China on, you know, why they're doing this. I mean, you know, and even the UNCLOS permits you to collect data.
Absolutely. The UNCLOS permits you to do that. So, which is what my point was on the trust deficit with China. But Commander Das, last question to you is that what must India do now? I mean, given the fact that, as you mentioned, that they are well within their rights to do whatever research they're doing. They can even snoop on our missile tests. There's nothing we can do about it. What can India really do to, let's say, deny China the intelligence advantage in the Indian Ocean region?
Simple. I mean, put boots on the ground. I mean, you have to do as much more capacity building, as much more data collection. You know, see, it's a war of capabilities.
Yes.
If you are better capable, then, you know, it itself becomes a deterrence.
Right.
If your adversary knows that you are better prepared or you are better capable, then that itself becomes a deterrent. You don't have to, see, war should not be fought.
Right.
It should be avoided with better preparedness. I mean, that's what it is.
Right. A war of capabilities, a war of preparedness. Thanks very much, Commander Das and Nivriti, for your views on Xi Jinping's spy ships. The surge of Chinese spy vessels into the Indian Ocean region, they are there even as we speak. It's a war of resources, it's a war of capabilities, and this is something that India cannot take lying down because our security could be threatened in the long term.